been a wild ride since we saw each other last. Very much thank everybody for their continued support and patience as we weathered the COVID storm. I'm very excited to hear about drones. I am disappointed that you're not flying the drone, however. I would have voted for flying the drone, but Roy told me I didn't have a vote. So,
there's all new construction in here. We want to keep it that way.
We're really looking forward to your presentation today. And I think it just underscores the importance of computer science with our teenagers and our students as they move into a world that is more and more we benefit from what's going on in the technology field. So thank you for that. So moving quickly so we can get to our presentation, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of the December 16th meeting?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Great.
Thank you. Going to the part that I'm going to, as part of my update with COVID and everything else, I know we have students here and I'd rather turn it over to them quickly and get them in and out because I know they really want to go home and study quickly, so let them do their presentation and get it. But before I introduce them, I do want to introduce our student representative to the board, Isabella. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yay. Nice to Isabella because she's only a little bit nervous. But Isabella and I had an opportunity to speak this morning, and she's going to provide a student report about activities and things that are going on at the high school. And as I explained to her, part of her role and being at the table is when we have items to discuss, we love to hear a student voice, because oftentimes we talk about things that we'd love to get the student voice to see how it impacts them and some feelings on that. So moving forward, that's what she's going to do. But tonight she's going to do a report. Okay. Do you want to do it now? You want to do it after? You want to get it over with? You want them to go first?
I don't mind.
Okay. You want to go first?
Sure.
She's going to give us a report, then we'll get it to Robotics.
Okay. So my name is Isabella Fenner. I'm a junior at the high school, and I'm just here to represent the student body and give updates on what's going on from the student perspective. So some recent high school developments we've had is our midterm week got canceled, which was supposed to be last week. It's a week that we have off and usually just come in for exams, but because of regents getting canceled and not enough instructional minutes, we had to cancel those. And instead we replaced them with like allotted slots for days organized by subjects for teachers to give end of quarter non-cumulative tests. And they were spread out over 2 weeks to try to reduce stress for students, which I thought ended up working out pretty well because also given the fact that we haven't really had a normal midterm week the past couple of years, I think that would have been a lot of pressure for students. So I thought that was pretty successful. We've also had some recent difficulties for students missing school due to COVID, sickness, the flu, especially starting before winter break. That was causing a lot of stress because let's say, missing assignments, missing classes. Some of them couldn't attend Zoom classes because that required having a positive COVID test. So what the school did is they gave us an X block week. And an X block is a day that we have an hour-and-a-half lunch period and shortened classes for teachers to give makeup sessions and just give some time for students to seek out extra guidance if they needed it for making things up. A couple of events that have been going on. We've had a lot of club organized things, which is pretty normal. We've had 3v3 basketball tournaments. This year we finally had a homecoming, which is something we were missing last year that I think students really felt lacking, and I think that was a big exciting thing. We had a fall play, which was the Crucible, which is the same thing as we did last year. We had outside in front of the auditorium lobby. And a couple of important things that have been going on through this semester is, like I mentioned before, X blocks, which are a big yay for the students. So we have these hour-and-a-half lunches and then 10 minutes off of our classes. We have that twice a week on Tuesdays and Fridays, and I think it really makes a big, big difference. It's time for us to do some extra studying, to go home for lunch if we have to go off campus with friends for lunch, to just more downtime to relieve stress, and I think it's actually made a really big difference. Also, at the end of each quarter, we have a whole week of them, because that's a very stressful period for kids who have to figure out what they do need to bring their grades up and like what teachers they need to talk to. And I think that's been very, very effective. I've also noticed that this year, especially, technology has become like such a big thing for learning here, even more than it was before, because I think last year a lot of our assignments were online and we were using a lot of online resources, and that sort of carried into this year. So Google Classroom is super important, Infinite Campus, and like different sort of online resources. And it's also important to like maintain communication between faculty and students over these platforms, just like announcements about assignments and keeping the grade books updated. I think that's always on our minds. Another thing I wanted to mention was the success of the new Learning Commons, which we also had last year, but I think it's a really, really great space. It's very multi-purpose, very flexible. There's like little cubicles for a more private area. There's also like more comfortable like sofas and tables. And a lot of students use it for their free periods, just to socialize, to study, and it's like a nice, peaceful place that's not like as quiet as the library, but not as busy as the cafeteria. I think that's also been very successful. There's also rooms in the back that I think are used for science labs and robotics. Another thing is, right now I think we're in the midst of course selection, which seems early, but it's like a lot of work for the guidance department. So this year we have a new resource, which is the course catalog website, whereas previously it was like this long, long document that you had to scroll through to learn about what you're offered for next year. Now it's a lot more accessible and efficient, and I think they did a very good job of that. And the guidance department works really hard to like craft individual schedules that work like on a master scale too. And the last thing I wanted to touch on was just in general transitioning back to full-time in-person, how that's been going on this year. I think we have to be just constantly paying attention to changes in COVID protocols and how that affects our school policies. I think it's really important for us to be kept in the loop of just the rules that are constantly changing that we don't necessarily know about, like by the New York State for schools or by the section for athletics. A lot of us just aren't always super aware of that. Another thing that has been important is just a general return to athletics. Like I said before, homecoming is important to a lot of people. We had a very successful fall season, 2 state championships, in the midst of our winter season right now. And I think just the normalcy of sports is so important to student athletes who have it as like a way to relieve stress or an outlet. Last year was just like super unpredictable for all 3 seasons, and I think this year has been a lot more settled. I think wearing masks has become just sort of a new normal for us. I think we all understand that it's not something that's going to be going away anytime soon, and especially like recently with the new variant, I think the school has more tightly enforced things, and I think the students are cooperating pretty well. And the last thing is, even though like a lot of things are very normal, I think some students are still struggling to return to the standard like academic rigor of their classes, especially AP courses, because last year, you know, we had a lot of exceptions and just more lenience in terms of like the curriculum itself and exams and, you know, like online testing, and just now, since things are a lot more back to normal, people who got used to that are having a little more trouble like getting back into the wave of things. But I just think student-teacher communication is really important to fix those issues on an individual basis.
Thank you. That was terrific.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yeah.
Thank you, Isabella.
Well done. Great report.
Do we vote her on the board now?
Exactly.
Yes.
Thanks, Isabella. That was terrific. Look forward to future reports with you. Okay. You know, as you know, we're excited tonight to hear from the robotics course folks. We've made an effort in the last few years to increase our STEM offerings and engineering courses, et cetera, and Mr. Cornish is here to kind of guide the students with us tonight. He's done a really terrific job helping us establish the new Innovation Center and getting our STEM courses in order and what we can perceive moving forward. So again, thank you for the work that you've done from the facility side as well as the student side. Really terrific work. So thank you. So, I'm going to turn it over to you now, to Ann, to the kids. I'm not sure who's stepping up. Okay, good.
Watch that camera. That's right. Yeah, just like the order.
Okay, so
I was just about to lean over to you and say the same thing. All right, so here, I'll kick it off here. Thanks for the opportunity to share with you guys what we've been working on over the last semester or so. For those who I do know, good to see you. For those who don't, I'm Mr. Cornish, Ben Cornish. I teach physics, engineering, comp sci, robotics at high school. And what we wanted to do here is just share some of the work which we've done in the intro robotics course for the last semester. And I'll give you a high-level view very briefly about it, and I'll let these guys share some of the details which they've been working on. And so we put this presentation here together, which won't be long, right? And you can, actually, that timer should count, but I don't know what it's doing. And in any case, so it won't take that long, and this serves as an opportunity for these guys as a learning opportunity, which is not out of the realm of all the variety of stuff which we've done in this particular course. And so in putting this together, I asked the students to pay attention to this, like who's their audience, because this is scary and this doesn't look like their classroom full of kids. And to keep these 4 guiding questions in mind when they do this. So I applaud and appreciate them for getting up here in front of you scary people. And so what we've got is a project drone. And Brad and I have spoke about this for years as to what drones look like in an educational framework. And so this is sort of like, in my mind, take 1 at that. And the robotics class is it's a project-based course. It's just a 1-semester thing. And the way we set it up this time is focused on this technology platform, which is becoming more and more common. You'll see out there and you buy it and whatever. And the way we set it up had these folks have the opportunity to become subject matter experts in something in particular. And there was a lot of, because of the wide variety of experience and skill, I've got freshmen through seniors in this course. And that at once presented like a really big challenge to running the course, but it's also something which was really cool, capitalize on that. And as such, each member was able to bring like a really important contribution to the overall project at the end of the day. Of course, that made it challenging, but it's also cool. We'd never done this before, and that's me as well. We'd never done this before. That's fine, that's cool. What it really made nice for was like a startup-esque environment. It was, each afternoon there's this like little slice of time where it's a small piece of a tech startup. And I know that because that's from where I come. So that was kind of neat to expose these folks to. I'm going to turn it over to them and have them speak to each one of these subsystems. So.
All right. Hello, my name is Willem Bender. I'm a junior at Bronxville High School, and I'm sort of the lead for the project. So I chose this project because it's sort of a perfect overlap between robotics and aviation, which is sort of a passion of mine. And for this project, we put in a few different goals that we wanted to really strive for. So the first one of those goals is that we want to work in a real-world sort of robotics setting, just like Mr. Cornish mentioned with that sort of startup idea. And following along with that, each person had their own field of interest, even though they weren't confined to that one sort of field. And problems were approached and discussed as a sort of group, and it made it a lot easier to overcome a lot of obstacles. The second goal of this was We want to gain knowledge and skills in the fields of robotics and aviation that you wouldn't normally get in a typical classroom environment, because this is by no means the typical sort of class. And the last goal of this project was really just to have fun learning about all these new topics.
Hi, I'm Spencer McCormick, and I'm a senior, and I was tasked with talking about Drone Zero, which is our smaller of the two drones. This was our cost-effective drone, and that's all I'm going to say. This was actually, so the frame and motors were actually sitting away in Mr. Gornish's room, and it was a former student project that was in there for like 3 years, and we were like, hey, why don't we fix it up? Why don't we get it going? So that's what we did. We got a new computer system and ESCs and a battery, which we're just working on. We need one more part. That's it, and then we can fly it. So we connected a new controller, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Hello, my name is Wesley Kane. So this is Drone 1, which is our main focus of the project. This video is supposed to be playing right now, but we're having some technical difficulties, which is all right. So this is the pretty much the guts of what we've been working on throughout the entire semester. So in order to properly approach creating a drone of this magnitude and scale, we needed to learn a bit about the background of robotics. So we learned about what makes a drone and what makes a robot. We learned about different subsystems, hardware versus software, and how they all integrate to form like a joint actual final product, which took a bit of time. And then after that, we all divided into our own specialized groups and collaborated with each other. So personally, I was in the software portion of Drone 1. So we collaborated with 3D modeling and machine vision teams to create designs capable of achieving all of our goals and creating an autonomous drone which would fly itself in like effect. So along the way, I feel everybody in this course has learned at least the basics of avionics, electrical engineering, soldering, and integrating hardware and software, which I think are very valuable skills that are much needed in the world right now. And it was very interesting in the way that we approached it. After we created the drone, we had to overcome many challenges, so we used trial and error to create our drone, which we were able to fly hundreds of feet into the air. And yeah, maybe we can get that video to play a bit later, but it's all good. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Arna, and I'm a junior. Along with Alex, I worked on machine vision. So with machine vision, we attempt to not only give the drone eyes, but also a brain to make sense of what it sees. Though we were ultimately unable to attach the iPad with the machine vision application to the drone, we still created a remarkable algorithm with 72% efficiency in detecting cars and houses from video taken from iPad, which should be shown there in a video that is also having some difficulties. But to go along the process of what we worked on, we first took images from an iPad by pointing it out windows of the school. And then, using an online platform, we painstakingly annotated each of 500 images by drawing a box around the cars and houses. The web platform then taught an algorithm what looks like a car and a house. It provided us with an application with which we could point the iPad outside of the window, and in real time, it would box cars and houses from this live video. This was a really remarkable opportunity to learn the fundamentals of machine vision and how it could be applied to drones.
Hello, my name is Kieran Wagner, and I'm a sophomore at Bronxville School. Me and Jackson were tasked with creating custom components for the drone. That includes the 3D prints that we have done on the drone, as you can see. All of the printing that we have done was designed on Tinkercad and printed via Akira printing software on a 3D printer that was in our room. Just to show you a couple of the 3D prints that were made on this drone. We have a top casing of the drone, which was kind of meant to be a protection for the computer inside and just like protection from ourselves. we have a dual iPad holder, so we can hold the iPad when it was supposed to take machine vision pictures while I was in the air to detect stuff. There's a holder for the GPS, so it can connect. And I know you can't really see it, but one of the legs that actually broke in shipping, and we had to 3D print a different attachment for that.
That too is a little time-lapse video. We're not into videos tonight.
So my name is Tyler, and I'm going to be talking about the administration. When I first was considering taking robotics, I was a bit wary on it because when I think robotics, I think of immense coding or like engineering behind it. But Mr. Cornish told me that there's like a lot more going on, and that's where the administration comes in. Basically, it's all the stuff you don't think of when it comes to robotics. So like policy with drones, all the rules behind it, all the FAA regulations you have to deal with before you can actually fly the drone in the first place. You have to actually manage communications with all the people funding the project. You have to deal with teachers, peers, the principal, the assistant principal, and then you have to deal with the authorities too, which is crazy. Like, come on, it's just a lot, and you have to go through all these people. And it's like, we have to go to the town hall at one point. I mean, and there's also the social media, which actually documents and has everything listed on there, so you can actually see what's going on. So there's a lot there. And also we had to record all this stuff in a spreadsheet if it was a failure or a successful flight. So it's just all this stuff that you don't really think of when it comes to, drones and engineering and all that kind of stuff.
Just as a quick FYI, all the videos that aren't shown on here and working right now, a lot of them are on the Instagram currently. So
Nice.
afterwards, I know you guys want to see those videos.
Yeah.
All right.
Very good.
Thank you. Before I have you guys sit down, I'll see if the board members have any questions they want to ask. Or
Was there real AI involved?
Yes,
You
there
said
was.
machine learning, so you actually taught it to identify what a house was and a car was.
Yes, we went through
Amazing.
the whole AI
Yeah.
process of finding the data, annotating the data, and then having it learn from this previous annotated data how to make predictions about future data we might give it.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Well done.
yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy question, how heavy is it?
It's actually pretty light.
Is it?
It's not that
With,
difficult to
with the iPad on, it's a
Little
decent
heavier.
bit more heavy. It is over 0.55 pounds, which the FAA sees as a larger drone. It can lift a decent bit. We plan on continuing this project, hopefully, with an independent study, and possibly attaching more things onto the drone as well. But I'd say it's over a pound for sure.
Wow, that's great.
Amazing.
Anyone else?
Well, Tyler, how were the town officials to deal with?
So Hayes over there, he's very shy and won't get up here. So he sent an email to the chief of police saying, hey, there's going to be a thing in the air. You're going to, be aware that it's us and not somebody.
So he said, hey, to the chief secretary.
Yeah.
Now I know why he's sitting over there.
Exactly.
He doesn't want his face on camera.
Anyway, Ben and company, thank you guys. It's
Beautiful.
great. So impressive.
Nothing, exactly.
I'm not feeling good about that spot.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so we'll continue. We do have another presentation for you tonight. Not quite as exciting as drone and AI, to some of us.
But a lot more terrifying.
To others, it's very exciting. So I'm going to have Brad come up and talk about cybersecurity. Because it is.
You want to leave the drones up here? Give them something to look at.
Because I'm sure that not many of you know that it's Cybersecurity Awareness Week.
Data privacy, but yes, close. Same general area.
Not that tenure.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. I know that it's a hard act to follow, but we're going to talk about some cybersecurity and some policy. Woo! All right. So this is kind of a follow-up to a presentation that I made right before before the pandemic hit, actually. And really, we kind of focus cybersecurity in 3 different buckets or phases. Technology that we use to protect us, the process in which we implement that technology, and then the people that are using the technology itself. So the first part is in terms of technology, tools and systems we use, what firewalls are around, what are protecting us, incoming traffic, what ports are being blocked. And a lot of that is being monitored by Lyric. So the Southern Westchester BOCES and the Lower Hudson Regional Information Center, we subscribe to their services. We think that this is a benefit. We're pooling resources between other districts. We have a lot of eyes on our network as well as other school districts. And then there's a dedicated team to respond that's just our district as well. And so it's a nice complement to districts to be able to monitor each other. And also if one district goes down, most likely others are as well, and that doesn't sound great at the onset, but it's also good to say, okay, multiple districts are down, we're going to work together to bring this up, rather than having individual districts go down and them kind of flailing. So it's the pooling resources is key for what we subscribe to Lyric. Another benefit of the resources are when we have vulnerabilities. So this is a recent vulnerability, log4j, with the Apache server. It was a vulnerability that affected about, they said, around 1/3 of the internet based on what servers it was able to infect. In fact, I think the number was 850 million Apple users. So this was pretty big. It affected a lot of people. Within the business day of it being found and reported, I received an email of all systems affected from Lyric, which systems they updated and patched already, and then which ones we need to focus on. And within 2 days, we were set. Being on a listserv with other directors of technology around Westchester, there was a lot of directors that don't subscribe to Lyric and have their own teams, and they were flailing for weeks. So that right there was a benefit for me, just to say, okay, we're protected, and it's not about being first, it's about protecting the data that is here. So the second part is the process. So how we are onboarding, removing, informing people, and what happens when something does happen in our disaster plan. So these are more of the policies. So some things that we've done since our last cybersecurity audit. So we now have a 2-step process to create accounts. And so we're just making sure that everybody that is assigned and has an active account that could, in the next section, click on a link that is sent to them. They are active and they are taking cybersecurity training. So we have a 2-step process to do that. Constant account monitoring with HR, and a big shout out to Barbara Vitaliano, who's been amazing in this. And so her and I talk probably every other day, checking, making sure that this person's still employed, that this person is just on a leave, and what the status is. And then clearer policies for account deletion. We're also working towards a cleaner solution which will automate some of these things so that we don't have to take multiple steps, but it's still kind of in process as we make sure that all of our systems can talk to one another. And then finally, the people, and you're only as good as the people clicking on the email link. So regardless of what our firewall policies are, and regardless of what technology we have in place, an email still comes through, right? And it's easy to click, especially if somebody sees that it might be from Roy saying, I need your phone number to be able to do this. People knowing that that is a phishing attempt. So we have cybersecurity training, and we run phishing campaigns quite often, actually. We will be stepping up our cybersecurity training as ransomware attacks are getting more and more popular around school districts, and you might have heard of a couple of school districts getting hit in Westchester. So cybersecurity training, we go through InfoSec, and it is a half-hour part 1, and then there'll be a half-hour part 2 after some phishing campaigns to make sure that people are aware of. I will give a shout out to our staff. I get emails forwarded to me every day with, is this okay? Can I click on this? Is this real? So it's great because people are aware. A lot of people say that they don't trust any email anymore, and that's actually a good thing in this environment. So I don't mind those being forwarded to me. And then cybersecurity awareness. In October, it's Cybersecurity Month, so that's at the very beginning of school. And so for Cybersecurity Month, I try to kind of write an email every week, kind of highlighting some things that people can either make aware of for themselves or even pass on to students. A lot of the resources are student friendly. And then in December, we have the Hour of Code, which is traditionally computer science related, but it's becoming more and more cybersecurity related, as that is the hot field right now. January, it's Roy's favorite week, Data Privacy Week. And then February 8th is Safer Internet Day. There are additional other, if you will, cybersecurity awareness holidays throughout the year, and it's really just making sure that it's on people's mind and they're thinking about it. We don't have to celebrate Safer Internet Day, but it's sending an email out there to remind people, be careful about what you click on. And then the buy-in from staff has been great only because it's protection for both the work and personal. Almost everybody has a personal email account that is getting phished every day as well. So having this available for not only protecting their systems at work, but then being able to use those same systems and techniques at home. So in addition to, we have the DPO, the Data Protection Officer, and these are some updates that we just want to go through as in my role as the Data Privacy Officer, just going through some checklists, some things that are provided by the New York State to make sure that we're covering and that we continue to cover, and just an update for everybody. So ongoing protection of PII, so that's personal identifiable information, through EdLaw 2D and staff trainings. Staff trainings have a lot to do with the cybersecurity that was just mentioned. EdLaw 2D is Section 121 is a newer law put into effect in October 2020, and that discusses what information you're able to, as a school district, give over to third-party software about student information so that they can use it. And so staff has also been great in this because there's a lot of popular programs that wouldn't comply with EdLaw 2D. A lot of software programs out there will take that student information and sell it, and we can't use any program that says that they'll do that, or they have to sign our Bill of Rights, which is posted on our website, that they will not do that. And so as software companies get more comfortable with the law about this, we've had to lose a few, but we've also gained quite a few, and I think that staff is pretty happy with some of the district-wide software tools that we've purchased that we've been able to train on and use in classrooms. We're working with the National Institute of Standards and Technology. NIST is the acronym that is often used, Cybersecurity Framework to stay protected and up to date. This is probably a more boring website than my presentation right now. A lot of words, a lot of policy. It's something that we go to quite often to kind of work through. And then policies are posted on our school website on the technology page. Here's a quick screenshot of that. And this is information about our Parents' Bill of Rights and any sort of other policy if we are hacked or any sort of reporting that we need to do. And then finally, some fun. Yes, fun. These are some of the phishing attempts that we've had. So this is a phishing attempt that I put out last year. Looks pretty real from the actual body. Up here, you'll notice that supervisors is misspelled, plus Google Docs is the name, and then that's not an actual Google site. This was a tricky one, and a lot of people were phished on this because the only thing that's different about this is that I misspelled my name on purpose. And so these are the little things that we've gotten to where staff is actually able to look and recognize these and not get phished. We have the very first phishing attempt that I did back in, I think, 2019, quite a few people fell for this. The numbers have been decreasing ever since. And another thing that we do is whenever an actual phishing attempt comes in, I try and take a screenshot and highlight and circle what tipped us off that it was. And like I said, a lot of staff is forwarding me these emails, so it's easy to kind of grab and see what's happening. This is one from July 4th. So they sent it on July 4th because most people are around, hanging out for July 4th, having a barbecue. You're not really thinking about it. You might be on your phone, just checking email. You see something that somebody shared a document. This name does not match Roy Montesado, so that's one tip. Plus, we're a Google school, so we wouldn't be sharing anything through Microsoft. Again, we don't use SharePoint. And then this is a function of Google that it says that is outside the organization. So if you're sharing a document, it will alert you. It will also alert you when you're writing something that you're sending it outside of the organization, just in case it provides any sensitive material. So I know that was quick, but
And exciting.
and exciting, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Does anybody have any questions?
Brad, you know, I think there was a school that was on the West Coast that got basically dished or hacked, I don't know what the right term is.
Yeah.
Eventually they had to pay, I think they had to pay a ransom because
Yeah.
they shut down the school.
Right.
What would happen in our case? I mean, do we have backup systems?
Great question. So we found out when I was doing this presentation back in 2019 that Lyric, rightfully so, is very protective of their of how they operate because they don't want to announce it on a board meeting how we run our systems. But essentially, it comes down to about 10 years ago, insurance companies started paying ransomware attacks, and so then it became profitable. It wasn't profitable until that point because you just didn't have that much information. We are backed up constantly, so if we were to have a ransomware attack, we would find out where it was coming from and if they still have a road or a port in, and then we'd be able to back up everything. What's nice is that we are a Google school, and so they would have to hack all of Google as well and its protections. So there is some stuff that lives on the H drive server, so that's local, but then most of our stuff is cloud-based, and so we'd still be able to get to that. But yeah, it's frightening. In fact, I don't know if anybody noticed, but for about a week, our website was down, and we had to use other modes of communication like Constant Contact or K-12 alerts or campus. And basically, they were the victim of a ransomware attack. And so their process was, and I agree with that, there's a lot of frustrated people, but they pulled down all sites and just stopped it so that no information was going to be shared. And then they slowly found what it was and then rebuilt their entire system. So it's a frustrating process, and I was on a couple of calls in which they were addressing the public. But, and there was a lot of frustrated people because that is most people's only means of communication with the community. We're lucky we have 3 or 4, you know, mostly Infinite Campus, but then we also have Constant Contact and K-12 alerts. So we weren't necessarily dead in the water, but it was a frustrating process, but at the same time, it protected a lot of people's data. And so if a website is hacked, that's the process. If our school was hacked, then we'd shut everything down, and then we'd go for a backup and have to find out what it is that infected and if it's still present.
One of the first that got hit was on Long Island, I don't know, I think 15 years ago now. They ended up paying a lot of money. Rockville Center.
Oh. Yeah, you would target that. I mean, unfortunately, the wealthier districts are oftentimes targets. And going back to our original technology and pooling resources, this is another reason why it's good to be part of Lyric, because they're protecting all districts.
Yeah, that was ancient history, I mean, compared to what's now. I read your emails, I see your stuff, I think it's terrific.
Thank you.
And I mean, all you need is one person to inadvertently let something in and boom.
Right.
But I think it's terrific, and I think the tone of your emails is really nice.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Agreed. And also, I think we had John a lot of look at technology 2 years ago, like 2019. And it may be something we'll look at again soon, just because there's so much changing.
And there's a reason why our cyber insurance doubled and our deductible quadrupled or whatever it was in 1 year.
This is our reality.
In fact, I have a meeting with the auditors, follow-up meeting tomorrow.
Thanks, Brad. Thank you, Brad. Okay, so I just have a few things I'd like to update on, primarily related to COVID. On the good news front, on our call on Monday with the county executive, he had cited for us that this past Saturday numbers, I believe there was around 15,000 active COVID cases in the county, but that compares to about 10 days prior where it was about 36,000 active cases. So the numbers are significantly dropping, although I did have a discussion with Mayor Marvin today, and she did let me know that there's been an increase in hospitalizations locally related to COVID. So it's still something that we struggle with, and still something we'll have to be careful with as well. As you saw, we did a voluntary survey to try to determine how many of our students are vaccinated currently. We had, I think it was 831 responses to the survey, and out of the people who responded, 821 are vaccinated, at least a shot. So that means more than half our children, at least, are vaccinated. Those who didn't respond, that it's hard to read that, but I'm sure there are some additional ones. So it's pretty nice that that our parents are taking charge of that. Our testing protocols are still going on. We're testing each week, as you're aware. We test a little over 300 people per week. Just to give you an idea of where our positivity rate is based on the testing. December 22nd, prior to December 22nd, it was really nominal. It was 0.4 or something like that. December 22nd was 6.1%, went up to 7.6 on January 5th, right after the holiday. On the 12th, it went down to 4.9. Last week it was 2.6. So it is dropping, which is what we see out there as well. The state has also provided us with a number of rapid testing kits. Dan's been great about picking those up for us. So we have enough now where we believe our recommendation is going to be to send home a kit with every child prior to the February break, and ask the parent to voluntarily have their child take a rapid test prior to the return after the February break, because that would be the next time that there's a significant time away from school and staff. Thank you. And staff.
Couldn't read her lips.
Took me a little while. We're going to ask everybody to take a rapid test prior to the return. We think that will just be another safety precaution. And we have enough to give out to everybody. So that'll be a good use of those tests, I believe. I also want to just kind of review the latest on the mask mandate, because I know there's been a lot of confusion over the last 24 hours, certainly, especially for me. But as you might have guessed, last night, a little after 7 o'clock, we learned of the ruling, the state Supreme Court ruling that were suggested that the Department of Health does not have the authority, or the governor have the authority to implement. So
it's back.
It's back. All right. It's back.
Do you know how long?
Last like 2 minutes.
Okay. So I'll try to summarize.
Okay.
So what I was suggesting was the orderly events where the confusion occurred. Last night, received the Supreme Court's ruling, the Nassau Supreme Court's ruling that the mask mandate was lifted because the governor nor DOH had the authority. An hour after that, we received notification from SED that was essentially saying you need to follow the mask mandate because there was an appeal in place. Similar from DOH last night, This morning, they both walked back off those mandates, saying that it wasn't necessarily an automatic stay, that they were intending on appealing, and they're waiting for confirmation of the stay. Several districts in our area received legal advice that it was not an automatic stay, so they made the decision today to lift the mask mandate. Our legal counsel did not provide that advice and recommended that we keep the mask mandate in place. So that's why the letter went out this morning, to keep the mask mandate in place. Since that time, there was an oral argument, and we received confirmation that the stay has been put back in place until Friday, when they're going to hear additional arguments to determine what the next steps are. So we are still under a mask mandate at least through Friday. After that, we'll see what happens. If it's determined that there is no mask mandate, we'll respond accordingly and move forward in that direction. But right now, we're still under the mask mandate. That's what we're required to do. And I know it's confusing. I know I received emails today on both sides of the issue. It's not about whether I agree or disagree. It's about what we're required to do currently. And I would also point out that the current mask mandate for schools expires February 21st. I know in indoor places it's February 1st. Mike, I checked that, by the way. Indoor public places it was February 1st, but in schools it's February 21st where it's set to expire, either way. So we'll learn more over the weekend, and I will, as soon as I get more information, we will communicate it out as best we can.
Okay.
So that's kind of the quick update, and why the note was sent out this morning asking people to wear masks.
Got it.
That's it.
You handled that brilliantly. Tough times, though, tough times. So thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Kelly.
Yes, good evening, everybody. You have before you a teacher who is requesting a child care leave, a portion of it paid and a portion unpaid. We did have a resignation of a teacher aide, but we're fortunate enough to find a replacement immediately. We do have a new teacher resident, as well as a new substitute teacher and substitute teacher aide. In addition, I'm so pleased to have a resolution before you this evening to make our occupational therapist official. It took some time working with civil service to make this happen. She's been working with our students, mainly students with some special needs. She's extraordinary, and we're very, very pleased that we were able to secure her as a result of Lorraine Branson's retirement. Also, you have before you a resolution to have a medical consultant, Dr. Levin. He is a psychiatrist. We will be contracting with him, providing you approve for a specific case as it relates to a faculty member. In addition, you have a few revisions to the co-curricular advisory list. We have a teacher coming back from leave that's going to be taking on some clubs. We have a new girls varsity lacrosse coach, as well as the entire spring coaching roster for you to consider this evening. So items A through K, please.
That could be a record on shortness for you. You're really well done. So do I have a motion to approve personnel items A through K?
Move. Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.
I'm going to jump back to Roy for the most important thing.
Yeah, not the
The
most
school
important.
calendar. We've got the school calendar.
But you saw attached to the agenda, we have a draft of next year's school calendar. I just wanted to bring it to your attention. I think as I've mentioned before, there's not a lot of wiggle room in next year's calendar, just the way the holidays line up, etc. So you see what's before you includes our 186 teacher days, 182 student days. We're anticipating that the last day, Regents Reading Day, which is the last day of school, is June 23rd next year. But if you have any questions after you get a chance to look look at it. It is a draft. We'll present it for approval at the next month's board meeting.
Perfect. And the last day of school is set by
The state.
the state.
Yeah.
Always we have to remind everybody
Yes.
about that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We'd be ending earlier if we could.
We'd all be a minute early. Dan?
The board has in its possession financial results from December, which are on track and with the projection virtually unchanged from November. In general, expenditures continue to remain somewhat murky in that the top variable in the cost structure, the BTA contract, remains unsettled. And those costs associated with the contract make up more than half of the general fund expenditure budget. If and when a settlement is reached, it'll provide much more clarity. So we're looking forward to that. You know, the board is engaging the BTA in negotiations as we speak. There's another meeting later this week. Their negotiations are amicable and they continue, so stay tuned. And then as of December 31st, we know that anticipated federal COVID aid and our insurance recovery from the flood are offsetting declining special education tuition and interest income revenue shortfalls. We are also in the middle of updating our risk assessment with Acume Partners. I know everybody's gotten the call. Who this week, and late last week, who has been interviewed by Acume Partners, and we can expect an updated risk assessment in the next few weeks. And then Saturday, we have a Zoom workshop for more excitement. I will try and be at least as exciting as Brad for 9 a.m. And just as a preview, we're in striking distance for our 2.26% tax levy cap. You know, we'll review where we are and hopefully we can get there where we need to be, at least under the cap, and develop you know, an appropriate budget for next year. I have, I guess, 4 financial action items. The last one's probably a facilities action item, but 3 of them are required resolutions for corrective action plans that were discussed with both the audit committee and the board in November, and they're required to be filed with the state education department. And those are in the areas of the yearly extra classroom comments, IDEA payroll acknowledgement for people working under the grants, and also our tax certiorari reserve.
Should we take A through C together
Yeah,
and then
that's
do these separately?
Sure.
So may I have a motion to approve motions items A through C as outlined in the agenda?
Motion.
Thank you. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Since we're on action items, item D is for the appointment of land associates to do our statutorily required building condition survey and 5-year plan to be filed with the state education department. This is for a cost not to exceed $40,000, and that cost is aidable by the state. 5 years ago, this number was about $30,000 with KG&D, and I don't think it'll get up to $40,000. That's a not to exceed number, just to cover us, and they're just going to bill on the hours that it takes them.
And when do we expect to have that plan? Just general?
I would say in the spring sometime. I would say hopefully March. March is early, but maybe April.
April, right? Okay. May I have a motion?
I just have a question. Dan, it would be really helpful when we look at the next 5-year plan to revisit the last one and kind of understand what we got done, what we changed our minds about.
Sure.
And reconcile back.
We should also say that when districts do this, you throw in everything, because if you come up with a project and you want to get it approved and you want state aid, it's got to be in the 5-year plan.
Right.
So the people who do these are under instructions to throw in everything you could possibly think of and might want.
The floor.
We learned that the hard way, didn't we, Jeff?
16.
Any other questions? Okay, may I have a motion?
Move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Further to the facilities update, as I mentioned in the last couple of meetings, the project is 99.5% complete. We're still suffering from supply chain issues with the doors and the hardware. We'll have a meeting on Thursday, and we're working closely, closing out all the contracts once the back-ordered doors and hardware are delivered and installed. And this delay has impacted our state aid because we're unable to complete the final cost report until we close out the project. And hopefully it'll be in a couple of months. So we'll start getting our aid next year.
It just delays it. We're not losing.
No, we're not losing anything. It's just delaying it. Delaying the collection. And we are meeting Thursday with the architect, contractor, and construction manager for an update on those items.
Anything else, Dan?
That's it.
Okay.
Just on the construction, Dan, is there a punch list that are working through? Or
Yes, we're working through the plumbing punch list and electric. They're still going a little bit. And the construction manager the general contractor is really waiting for the doors and the hardware. And we have these temporary doors because we have to meet fire codes. But we want to replace them with the doors that we specified.
Great, thank you. Next up is our policy update of the policies that were up for second read. I'm going to ask if there were any questions, any surprises. Have people read them? I was surprised that we get to set the graduation date. I think that's the only place I saw the board has its responsibilities for setting the graduation date. There really were some very meaningful ones in here, just in the kind of under the umbrella of good governance. I found it very heartening that the promotion and the retention involved so many people in all the decisions, especially in the high school. I wasn't aware of that, and just the fact that there was a standard procedure that got followed actually was comforting as well. And the sexual harassment I specifically looked at as it related to social media and the jurisdiction for the district that things happen on in the premise versus off the premise. Thought they were all very well written and very well done. So do we have any other questions about those?
Who was the Title IX coordinator that's mentioned that?
You're looking at her.
So it's just one person for the entire school?
Two people?
Dan.
No, Dan is two.
I'm the deputy.
Able-bodied assistant.
Volunteer deputy.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve all of the ones that are listed for our second read?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Awesome. I do not believe we have any board reports that we haven't already covered. So with that, we do have our exciting budget meeting on Saturday morning, which if it snows, as it says it will, we predicted that one right, Roy. And our next one is a face-to-face meeting, hopefully will be February 16th. So with that, do we have any public comments, either on the chat or in person?
There are 3 questions in the chat.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to open to the floor.
We'll take people that are here first is great. Would you like to come forward and state your name?
Hi, my name is Sandra Borducci. I'm a parent of 2 students in the middle and elementary school. Concerned about the math program in the middle school. There was a change this week or last week in math 6 and 6H where they stopped doing packets every week and they're combining 6 and 6H in one classroom in one period. And I don't know how effective that is. This is a recent change in the last couple of years. A couple of years ago, they had 6H as its own class designation. Now, kids going from 7 to 8, or it was the case that it was mandated for them to do Khan Academy over the summer, about 40 or 50 hours. Now it's just suggested. Now I'm hearing that algebra in 9th grade, the kids aren't doing so great. The class average is low. That's the word among parents. So I've spoken to parents throughout the middle school, and everyone is concerned, and I'm concerned. I mean, I was visiting MIT this past weekend, and I'm concerned for our kids coming up in math this way. So I spoke to Mara about it. She gave me some reasons that it has to do with parent choice, if you want your kids to be in honors or not, and that really changed everything about how math works in the school. So the board, I feel like, has to do something about that. We're so excited about kids doing robotics. What about math?
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Others, Bonnie? Okay, so. The first question is from Aaron Schaefer. What is the position of the school if there is no mandate?
Is there going to be a response?
If there is no mandate.
Under our rules of order, we are open to be able to hear your comments, but we do not have to respond. So I really encourage you to continue your dialogue with Ann and with Mark.
Nobody cares to respond on the board?
I'm unfit to respond, but I took a note, and I know to ask the right questions to the people from whom I would expect a cogent response. And
because people are listening right now.
so I get it. I mean, and frankly, I respect that you know, standing up at a public board meeting and raising an issue of concern is not an easy thing. And I appreciate you having done so, but I would be lying to you if I told you I was conversant in what you raised, but I can try to question those who can speak to it.
So, let me ask a question. I may keep the floor. Thank you for raising that. It's really important. The honors program is something that I think, in math in particular, a lot of the students had to do a lot of things to be able to stay in. And in some ways, changing that, especially in January, can in fact send a message to the students that that all that effort they were putting in was not met with that enthusiasm by the school. From what I understand, there is it's a program, and there's a program that had put out packets that the students would have to complete, and those packets were done independently, and a lot of those packets were meant to just do, kind of, you do the work on your own, but you aren't necessarily having those packets reviewed by teachers.
We're not.
Right.
Kids go to extra help, and there's too many kids in extra help in the morning.
Right. And what I think has been the response from the email that I read from the middle school is that we're going to tie all work that's done by students to the instruction. So I saw that. I mean, I saw the response, and it was written in Friday's principal's email as something that felt like a nice way to address this issue. The packets weren't getting looked at. The packets are probably the most meaningful part of the 6H honors program. And now what we're doing instead is having all instruction done in class, and that instruction is being done by teachers who are focused on the 6H program. So it felt like a positive development, largely due to people like you who raised the topic. But again, I need to learn a little bit more about this.
Yes, I would like to have some information about how the teachers are actually accomplishing teaching 6 and 6H to all of their students in the same classroom in the same time period.
Right.
Are they talking to the whole group for 6 and then at the last 10 minutes talking about 6H topics?
Right.
What's the breakout? How does it work? Is it effective?
Right.
And are we preparing our 7th grade students for Math 8, and are those 8th grade students being prepared for algebra?
Right.
Are they? Because it doesn't look like it's working too great. I don't know. I don't know all the facts. I haven't spoken to all the parents.
Right.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay, so a question from Aaron Schaefer. What is the position of the school if there is no mandate?
I think we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, I mean, it's in place, as I mentioned, until Friday.
Yeah.
Let's assume for a second it gets lifted. I think that, I mean, my recommendation is, as others, we make math optional at that point.
Especially since our numbers are coming down.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense. But we'll see what happens on Friday.
On Friday.
And Emily B. is asking, could we please have Christmas added to our school calendar?
I mean, it's not listed on here. I don't know that we ever listed it because
It
it
usually
happens to
falls-
occur during the
it always-
holiday.
yeah,
The
like
school
it's-
calendar, not a,
Right, the school calendar definitely just lists out when
yeah,
it's
but it's
over
not even,
break.
it's not even listed because we only do Monday through Friday on
Yeah.
the calendar. And
Yeah.
Christmas happens to be on Sunday, so it's not even a date on
Right.
the square boxes for us this year. We can certainly list it if you would care to. We do list Easter Sunday,
Yeah.
which is not on there, so
I think historically we haven't because
We
it's been,
haven't.
it has fallen under the break.
under the break. But
Thank you for the question.
And A. Franklin is asking, the elementary school requires children to eat outside, squatting or sitting on the bare ground in 30-degree temperatures. Teachers eat inside. When will elementary students be able to eat lunch inside?
yeah, so we actually spoke about that a bit today. And we're going to set up an opportunity for any student who wants to stay inside for lunch during the cold weather. We'll give them that opportunity in a supervised space because we have the space available. So they would just have to contact our Kieran or Joe McClure, and we'll be making that an optional, thing for our students. Many enjoy going outside. Many parents want their kids being outside for lunch and recess. They think it's healthier for them. That's their opinion. But if other parents think it's not appropriate for their child, speak to the principal, and we'll make arrangements for them to be eating inside.
You've kept us up to speed on this
Yeah,
issue, and,
sure.
and the fact that many have really do enjoy being outside and it is healthy has
Yeah.
been an important factor for us.
Yes.
Got it?
Yeah, there's just a comment about the messaging for the middle school math programs and responses, so.
Okay. Got it. All right. Any other questions or comments? Going to go to the order? Okay, with that, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Awesome.